Today that I'm pleased to be here to announce not just one but two important initiatives. So the first announcement relates to an announcement that was made by Minister Joly literally just this afternoon with respect to the official launch of the Paul Yuzik Youth Initiative for Multiculturalism. So that's an annual funding initiative that will award grants of up to $1,000 to dozens of youth and young Canadians for projects around the country that promote multiculturalism, diversity, and inclusion in their communities. That funding will empower young leaders around the country to make a positive impact in their communities while promoting projects that foster pluralism and address things like racism and discrimination. The new initiative will honor the legacy of the late Senator Paul Yuzik, again, a persona known to everyone in this room, a pioneer in the development and promotion of Canadian multiculturalism, and it will help by inspiring our young leaders to continue to advance cultural understanding and inclusion in communities right across the country. And again, the involvement of Ukrainian Canadians like Senator Paul Yuzik in the advent of multiculturalism in Canada cannot be overstated. It was no coincidence that when Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau announced the adoption of official multiculturalism as official Canadian policy in 1971, he did so at a meeting on the Winnipeg Prairie right before the Ukrainian Canadian Congress. The second reason why I'm here today and why Bob asked us to come and speak is because we're here to announce our important support for an important community project that is a great example of our government's steadfast commitment to diversity. Last year, Minister Joly had announced an investment of $5.5 million per year to the project component of multiculturalism funding, a program that we call Interaction. Interaction is exactly what it sounds like. It's about bringing communities together, putting them in dialogue with one another, in an attempt to build bridges between different groupings. Given the rise in populism and hate crimes we've seen that target particular groups, as a government we also made a conscious decision that it was important to target multiculturalism funding on projects which eliminate racism, discrimination, and prejudice. Canadians know that without active programming supported by the federal government that builds bridges between different racial, ethnic, and cultural groups, we will not get to the point where official multiculturalism must lead, the place that Paul Yuzik and people like Pierre Trudeau envisage, where we don't just simply tolerate difference, but we celebrate difference. That's why I'm delighted to be here today. I'm very proud to be here today to announce that the Canada-Ukraine Foundation will receive $1.45 million over the next 3 years for its Holodomor National Awareness Tour project. Through the Holodomor Mobile Classroom, or the Holodomor Bus, as I affectionately call it, the National Awareness Tour will bring awareness about the Holodomor famine genocide of 1932-33 to broad audiences across Canada. And I'll be candid with you, Bob was very kind in terms of his introduction about me, in terms of my knowledge of the community and my interaction with the Ukrainian community. But I'll admit to you that though a human rights and constitutional lawyer who had dealt with genocide at the Rwandan Tribunal, I'll be candid in telling you that I did not know a great deal about the Holodomor until I entered public life as an elected representative. But it has been entities like that very bus that is right outside that have been instrumental in opening my eyes, and I have no doubt in opening thousands of eyes of people around the country to the horrors of the state-imposed famine genocide of 1932-33, where Stalin planned deliberately the death through starvation of millions of Ukrainians. It is only, and I believe this in my heart of hearts, it is only by learning about these atrocities, by keeping their memory alive, that communities and we as a nation can work to ensure that the hatred and intolerance that led to the Holodomor do not ever recur. And the lessons from that bus, the lessons that will continue to be told around this country, remain just as relevant today because they inform the work that we do as elected representatives on a daily basis to strengthen our democracy and to strengthen our protection of human rights here and abroad.
We will do you proud, as I think we did you proud for the first 3 years, and this will be the repeat encore. It's $1 million bus that is there with lessons that we'll hear about a little bit more a little later, but which we'll be teaching right across the country for tolerance, civility, and against hate, and against bullying and racism.
Together we will teach Canadians our shared responsibility to stand up to tyranny, oppression, and human rights abuses around the world. This year, we commemorate the 85th anniversary of the Holodomor. We honor the many millions of victims of the Holodomor and pay tribute to their survivors, whose courage in sharing their story ensured that this terrible genocide did not remain hidden from the world. As the Holodomor mobile classroom travels across Canada, our many Ukrainian Canadian Congress branches and provincial councils have actively worked to help coordinate and promote the work of this mobile classroom. We know that this is cutting-edge model for human rights education, which other communities see as a successful example how to connect with young people.
It was my great pleasure on behalf of the Canada-Ukraine Foundation to thank the Government of Canada for its long-term commitment and sustainability of Canada-Ukraine Foundation. You may not realize, but over the last 3 years, the Government of Canada has given us $2.6 million, and with this 1.5, that leads us to a donation of taxpayers' money of 4.2 million, which is very significant. And I think the community, the Ukrainian community, should start to realize how much the government is investing in supporting Ukrainian causes. So officially, on behalf of the board of the Canada-Ukraine Foundation, thank you very much. I hope to see you all here for the next 30 years. Thank you.
So if you've got a chance to go on the bus, and you'll probably have some time today, you would have experienced Pani Koreyu's first lesson, where she talks about this happened, this is the Holodomor, this is what happened, and students have an opportunity to interact with historical artifacts and documents to be able to know what happened, how did the world react, and it sort of call them to this awareness. In the second lesson, what we wanted to focus on is Stalin's war on information. How was it that this story, this horrific tragedy, was hidden from the world for so long? And so what we did working with REC and Forge was uncover how is that possible? How is it that journalists that were in Ukraine at the time in Moscow didn't report the truth, if that's their responsibility? So what was the culture of fear that was created, and how did that go on? So we want students to understand that, and it's never been more poignant, perhaps, than the fact that we live in a society where students are getting information from every single angle, and it's really hard to distinguish between what's a fact and what's misinformation. So we wanted to, in this lesson, focus on developing critical thinking skills and media literacy, and then calling students to global citizenship, active global citizenship, so that they too could understand the importance of speaking truth to power for the sake of justice, and knowing that every single day and every single moment they matter and the world needs them to do just that.